Hi, I'm Sean Gannon, and this is Minute Math, and today we're learning about solving one-step inequalities by adding and subtracting. We're going to solve each inequality and graph its solution. Now, if I was given this inequality,
Minute Math, when you need help you use Minute Math.
x plus 8 is greater than or equal to 18. First step here to get x by itself is to subtract an 8 to both sides. And in doing that, we have x now completely by itself. The 8's will cancel. And we have x is greater than or equal to 10. So now we're asked to graph it. We already got x by itself. So let's say we put 10 here. And we have 11, 12, 13 on the number line, and then 9, 8, 7, 6. You don't need all of them. Okay? Equal to sign means we can equal 10. So x here can equal that 10. And then the greater than sign says we shade to the right. And so now we have a graph that matches our final answer. X is greater than or equal to 10. X minus 1 is greater than 6. First step here is to add a 1 to both sides. That gets me x by itself because the 1's will cancel, and 6 plus 1 is 7. So now we have x is just greater than 7. So let's make a graph. Let's put 7 here, 8, 9, 10, and 6, 5, 4, 3. Well, since x is at 7, right, but it's not equal to 7, we have an open circle here at 7. It's greater than, we shade to the right, and there we have it. Our graph now matches our final answer of x is greater than 7. Negative 7 plus x is greater than or equal to negative 8. Well, first step here is I'm going to add a 7 to both sides. This gets me x completely by itself, and, well, it's greater than or equal to negative 8 plus 7 is a negative 1. So now we have our inequality. We need to graph it. Let's put 0 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Okay? At 0, or at negative 1, we said we can equal, or x can equal that, right? So that makes a closed circle. Greater than sign says we shade to the right, and there we have it. Our graph matches our inequality. X is greater than or equal to a negative 1. X minus 1 is less than or equal to 3. First thing I want to do here is I'm going to add a 1 to both sides. That gets me x completely by itself, 1's cancel, and we're less than or equal to 3 plus 1 is a 4. So now we have x is less than or equal to 4. So let's graph it. 4 here, 5, 6, 7, put some numbers on our number line, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right? Equal to means a closed circle here at 4. And since we have a less than sign, we need to shade to the left. And there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer of x is less than or equal to 4. N minus 2 is less than or equal to 4. First, I want to add a 2 to both sides. This gets me n completely by itself, and it's less than or equal to 6. Now, we want to graph it. Let's make a number line, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5, 4, 3, 2. Equal to sign means we have a closed circle here, right at 6. Less than sign means the arrow goes to the left. And there we have our graph now that matches our final answer of n is less than or equal to 6. V minus 1 is less than 3. All right. First thing I want to do is I'm going to add a 1 to both sides. By adding a 1 to both sides here, I have v completely by itself. It's still less than, and 3 plus 1 is 4. Now we have our inequality. We need to graph it. So let's put our number line here. 4 right here, 5, 6, 7, and 3, 2, 1, and 1 not 0. Since v does not equal 4, we have an open circle here at 4. The less than sign tells me we have an arrow, so we're going to put that to the, or the arrow to the left is the less than sign. And now we have our graph. This graph matches our final answer of v is less than 4. Negative 18 plus n is less than negative 7. Okay? Well, first step is I'm going to add an 18 to both sides. 18s will cancel, giving me n by itself. Now, -7 plus 18 is a positive 11. So now we have n is less than 11. We need to graph that. Make a number line, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 10, 9, 8, 7 here. If n is less than 11, we have an open circle because it's not equal to 11, just less than. Less than also makes us have an arrow to the left, and there we have it. Our graph now matches our final answer of n is less than 11. R plus 13 is less than 9. First step is I want to subtract a 13. Remember, opposite of addition, subtraction. Subtract 13 to both sides. 13s get canceled out on the left, give me r by itself. That's what I wanted. Now 9 minus 13 is a -4. All right? So now we have r is less than -4. We need to graph it. Let's put a -4 here. And then we have a -3 to the right, -2, -1, 0, 1. And then we have -5, -6, -7 here. All right? And -8, why not? All right, r is less than -4. That means we have an open circle here at -4, okay? Open circle at -4, because r is not equal -4. Less than means we put the arrow to the left, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. R is less than -4. N minus 4 is greater than or equal to 13. All right? First thing I want to do is I'm going to add a 4 to both sides. Opposite of subtractions, addition. Add a 4 to both sides, 4's cancel, n is now by itself. Still greater than or equal to, but 13 plus 4 is 17. So now we have our inequality. N is greater than or equal to 17. Let's graph it. 17, 18, 19, and 20. Not negative, whoops, 16, that's a 16 right there, 15 and 14. All right. Well, if n can equal 17, that gives us a closed circle there at 17. Greater than sign means the arrow goes to the right from that point, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. N is greater than or equal to 17. P plus 8 is greater than -4. I want to get p by itself, so I subtract 8 to both sides to do that. Remember, opposite of addition, subtraction. 8 will cancel, and p is now completely by itself, and it's still greater than -4 minus 8, which is -12. So now our inequality is by itself. We need to graph it. -12 is put here. We have -11, -10, -9, and -13, -14, and -15 right here. Okay? Open circle at -12 because p is not equal to -12, right? It's just greater than. So we have an open circle there. Then we put the arrow to the right because of the greater than symbol. And there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. P is greater than a -12. 17 plus k is less than or equal to 10. First thing I want to do is subtract the 17 of both sides. What this does, it gets me k completely by itself, and that's our goal. We saw the less than sign, so k is less than, or sorry, just less than or equal to, and 10 minus 17 is a -7, okay? So we have a -7 here. So let's graph it. Well, let's put -7 right here. We have -6, -5, -4, a -8, -9, and -10. And of course we can keep writing, but I'm done. I'm good here. Closed circle at k, or closed circle because k is equal to -7. Oof. Follow my words here. And a less than sign means the arrow goes to the left. And so our final graph here matches our final answer of k is less than or equal to -7. -2 plus x is less than or equal to -16. I want to add a 2 to both sides. When I add a 2 to both sides, okay, that gets me x completely by itself. These 2's will cancel. X is now less than or equal to -16 plus 2 is a -14. Now it's time to graph. Let's put -14 right here, so -13's here, -12, and -11's right there. And then we have -15, -16, and -17 here. X can equal -14, so we have a closed circle here at negative 14, and x is less than that value, so the arrow goes to the left. And there we have our graph that matches our final answer. X is less than or equal to negative 14. Negative 28 less than the letter V minus 16. Okay? Well, first thing I want to do is to get V completely by itself. I'm going to add a 16 to both sides. Okay? And that gives me, well, negative 28 plus 16 is a negative 12. And negative 12 is less than V. I like to flip this and have V come first. It's easier to see. And V is now greater than a negative 12. Okay? Remember, we flip everything. So we need to graph this now. Put negative 12 here, negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 13, negative 14, negative 15. We put an open circle at negative 12 because V cannot equal negative 12, it's just greater than. Greater than sign means the arrow goes to the right, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer of V is greater than negative 12. N minus 2 is greater than negative 20. I want to get n completely by itself, so I add a 2 to both sides. The 2's will cancel, giving me n by itself, still greater than, and negative 20 plus 2 is negative 18. So now let's graph this. Negative 18 here, and then we have negative 17, negative 16, negative 15, negative 19, negative 20, and negative 21 right there. Open circle at negative 18 because n cannot equal negative 18, it's just greater than. Greater than sign says the arrow goes to the right, and there we have it. Our final answer graph matches the answer here. N is greater than negative 18. X minus 7 is less than a negative 20. First thing, I want to add a 7 to both sides. This gets me x completely by itself, still less than, but negative 20 plus 7 is a negative 13. Now I'm ready to graph. Let's put a negative 13 here, and then we have negative 12, negative 11, negative 10, and negative 9, negative 14, negative 15, and negative 16. Well, since x is less than negative 13, it's not equal to, right? So we have an open circle here at negative 13. The arrow goes to the left because x is less than it. So now we have our graph that matches our final answer. X is less than negative 13. X plus 13 is greater than or equal to 5. I want to subtract a 13 first. And by subtracting a 13 first to both sides, x is now completely by itself. It's still greater than or equal to, but 5 minus 13 is a negative 8. So now x by itself, let's graph it. Let's put a negative 8 here. So that means we have negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 9, negative 10, negative 11. Well, x is equal to negative 8, which means at negative 8, we got a closed circle. X is also greater than negative 8, so the arrow goes to the right, and there we have it. Our final answer, graph, matches x is greater than or equal to negative 8. X minus 10 is less than, or sorry, greater than negative 1. There we have it, greater than negative 1. All right? Well, I want to get x completely by itself, so I add a 10 to both sides. 10's cancel, and now x is by itself. It's greater than negative 1 plus 10 is a positive 9. So now our x is greater than 9, and let's graph it. Let's put a 9 here, 10, 11, 12, and 8, 7, 6, 5. Well, x is not equal to 9, right? Since it's not equal to, at 9, we got an open circle. X is greater than, which means the arrow goes to the right, and there we have it. We have our graph here that matches our answer. X is greater than 9. X minus 12 is less than negative 11. Well, I want to add a 12 to both sides. So when I do that, or why I do that, is to get x completely by itself. X is now less than negative 11 plus 12 is a positive 1. So now we have our inequality. We need to graph it. Let's put 1 here, and 2, 3, 4, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. X is less than 1, which means it's not equal to. So that means we have an open circle here at 1. Less than means the arrow goes to the left, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. X is less than 1. R is less than 2. Or sorry, R minus 2, not less than, and it's greater than 11. All right? First step, I want to add a 2 to both sides. That will get me R by itself, and it's still greater than, right? 11 plus 2, which is 13. So now it's time to graph. Let's put 13 here, 14, 15, 16, and 12, 11, 10. We have an open circle at 13 because R is not equal to 13, it's just greater than. Since it's greater than, the arrow goes to the right, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. R is greater than 13. 9 plus n is greater than negative 4. Well, I want to get n by itself. I subtracted 9 to both sides to do that. 9's cancel, n is now by itself. It's greater than negative 4 minus 9 is a negative 13. So now we have our inequality, we need to graph it. Negative 13 is here, so let's put negative 12, negative 11, negative 10 here, and negative 14, negative 15, negative 16. We put our open circle at negative 13 because n is not equal to negative 13, it's just greater than. Greater than sign means the arrow goes to the right, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer, n is greater than negative 13. 20 is greater than or equal to p plus 16. I want to get p by itself. First step in doing that is subtracting 16 to both sides. 16's cancel, and now p is by itself on the right, and we have a greater than or equal to sign, and 20 minus 16 is 4. I like to flip this around. I have p be written first, so p is now less than or equal to 4. So let's graph that, okay? Put a 4 here, 5, 6, 7, and 3, 2, 1, and why not 0. Since p can equal 4, we put a closed circle right there at 4. Less than sign means the arrow goes to the left, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. P is less than or equal to 4. 11 is greater than or equal to 8 plus n. First thing, I want to get n by itself, so I subtract an 8 to both sides. 11 minus 8 comes out to be a 3, and that's greater than or equal to n by itself on the right. I like to flip this and have n come first, so n is less than or equal to 3. Remember, these two mean the same thing. N is now less than or equal to 3. Let's graph it. 3 here, 4, 5, 6, and 2, 1, 0, negative 1. If n is equal to 3, that means we have a closed circle at 3. N is less than 3 as well, so we have an arrow to the left, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. N is less than or equal to 3. 6 is greater than negative 11 plus a. First thing to get a by itself is to add an 11 to both sides. 11's cancel, and 6 plus 11 is 17. And that's greater than a now by itself. Okay? Well, we want to flip this. I like to flip it and put a first. So 17 greater than a is the same thing as a is less than 17. Let's graph that. Put 17 here, and 18, 19, and 20, and 16, 15, 14, and 13. Well, if a is less than 17, it's not equal to it. So at 17, open circle. Less than sign means the arrow goes to the left, and now we have our graph that matches the final answer. A is less than 17. P minus 6 is greater than or equal to negative 3. First step is to add a 6 to both sides. This gets me p completely by itself, and p is still greater than or equal to negative 3 plus 6 is a positive 3. So now let's graph. Let's put a 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2, 1, 0, negative 1. Since p can equal 3, we put a closed circle right there at 3. P is greater than 3, so the arrow goes to the right. And now we have our final graph for P is greater than or equal to 3. N minus 83 is greater than negative 166. First step, I add an 83 to both sides. This makes sure n is completely by itself, and it's still greater than, and negative 166 plus 83 is a negative 83. So now let's graph it. Well, let's put negative 83 here, and negative 82 here, and negative 81, and negative 80, and negative 84, and negative 85, and negative 80. 80, whoopsie, that's 6, but 80, 86 here, okay? Well, since n is not equal to negative 83, we put an open circle right there at negative 83. N is greater than, so we put an arrow to the right, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. N is greater than a negative 83. Negative 3 is less than or equal to x plus 16. First thing I want to do is subtract 16 to both sides. This gets me x by itself. Negative 3 minus 16 is a negative 19, and is greater than or equal to x. I like to write x first. I find it easier, so I'm going to flip everything. X comes first, and it's less than or equal to negative 19. Remember, negative 19 greater than or equal to x is the same thing as x is less than or equal to negative 19. So now let's graph it. Let's put a negative 19 right here. That's negative 18, negative 17, negative 16, negative 15, negative 20, negative 21, and negative 22. Well, if x can equal negative 19, that means we have a closed circle right here at negative 19. The less than sign means the arrow goes to the left, and there we have it. Our graph matches our final answer. X is less than or equal to negative 19.
Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math. Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math. MinuteMathTutor.com.